Okay, we're on Ayin Tes Amid Aleph. About 8 lines from the bottom. We had said the machlekes between Rav Shimon and the Rabbanon about this is the machlekes in the Mishnah, where the Chachamim say if you intend to kill one person and you kill another person, they're both Yidden, then the person, the murderer is going to be chayiv. You're going to kill him. He intended to kill one, yet he killed a different Yid. And Rav Shimon says you're going to be potter. Is that the way it is? They say it backwards. Whatever, we'll see in a second.
Yeah, that's what another Mishnah says.
Yeah, Shimon says you potter. So up to the Bishlam al-Rabbanim, 8 lines from the bottom of Ayin Tesem and Aleph. Bishlam al-Rabban da Amin is Kamal Hargazev Chayiv. According to Rabban who say Chayiv V'chsev Ki Notzu Anashim V'Nakbu Ishara. The pasuk says if 2 people are fighting and they hit a pregnant woman, and the pasuk says about that, B'yotzu Yodev Lo Yasin. The pasuk says, Rabbi Lazar says, this is obviously talking about a case where he was trying to kill the 2 friends that were fighting. The pasuk says, if 2 people are fighting, and they hit, one of them hits a pregnant woman in the middle of their fight by mistake, and it causes her to miscarry, and there was no intention to kill. Onish. They get punished. Kasha Yosel Bala Ishan V'Nasam Plil. He has to pay the husband the value of the miscarried baby. So the pasuk says. So we learn in the Brisa. It says when they're fighting and they hit the pregnant one. Clearly, we're talking about where he was trying to kill his friend. It's not that just they were fighting and punching each other; they were each trying to kill each other. The pasuk continues and says, and if it will be on purpose, then if he intends to hit her, then he'll get killed. Now it can't be that if he was intending that it will be v'nesata nafesh tachas nafesh. It says if she dies rather than killing just causing her to miscarry, then he's going to get killed. So that could only be the case if he was intending, right? We're talking about 2 people are fighting, and the pasuk says if it hits the woman and she miscarries, you have to pay. And the pasuk then says, but if she dies, then the person who hit her is going to get killed. Nobody would say if he was punching someone, he wasn't intending to kill anyone, and a woman, he by mistake misjudged, and instead of hitting the man, he hit a woman, that he should be chayiv misa. You can't. We don't hold that if you're just negligent, you should get killed. Now he wasn't intending to kill anyone. So Elamai must be talking about he was intending to kill the first man. And we see, nevertheless, he wouldn't be chayiv. So therefore, that's according to the Rabbanan. That's how we know that if you're trying to kill one, you kill another. I'm sorry. Therefore, you see, if he would have killed her, you see, he would be chayiv. So you see that we're talking about where he's trying to kill, and he killed. If he would have killed a woman, he'd be chayiv. You see, even though he was trying to kill one man and he killed a woman, the pasuk says that he'd be chayiv. What do they do with this? That the pasuk says that if he kills her, he has to pay. That which seems to say that he's going to be chayiv misa. So tomorrow, Mammon, all it's coming to tell you is that we would say, we know there's a din of kimle b'dirabin. If you kill someone, you potter from paying. And what the pasuk is telling you in this case, even though he was not intending to kill this woman, he's still going to be potter from paying Mammon. A misa, when someone causes misa, even though it's b'shaygig, that's enough to potter him for a Mammon. That's the way Rav Shimon would interpret the Mishnah, the pasuk. Okay, the Rabbi, like Rabbi, the tiny Rabbi, I'm in the Sata Nefesh Tachas Nefesh, Mammon. It's talking about Mammon. Maybe it's talking about that if a person kills the woman by mistake, he gets killed, as opposed to that he has to pay her value. So it says Nesina over here that it says V'nasata nefesh tachas nefesh, and then Nesina l'maylo, and it also says Nesina in the previous pasuk. What it says, like Rashi says, L'yiyah asam v'nasam b'flilim. And if she's not going to be killed, then he has to pay for the value of the baby. And it says also lashon nesina, mala lon mammon, just like over there when it says v'nasam b'flilim, it means they have to give in to the judges in the courts. That means money. Afkan mammon. So too when nafesh tachas nafesh is also mammon. So that is the machlekes Rav Shimon and the Rabban. The Chum say Yechayev, the Rabban say Yechayev, and Rav Shimon says you potter, but rather you pay, and not only are you potter, but you're potter, but therefore you have to pay mammon. Right, you pay mammon, and we don't say Kimlei b'derabine. Amar Rava, Hay the Torah de Bechizkiya, Mafka b'derebi or Mafka derabban. The Bechizkiya argues on both of them. He argues both in the Rabbanon who say that you're going to be chayiv misa if you intend to kill one, you kill another, and he's not going to be like Rav Shimon. I'm sorry, from Rebbe. The Rebbe says, and we said Rav Shimon would agree that instead of paying, even though he can't, even though he killed someone by mistake, he's going to have to pay money. He disagrees. He says no, that we will say kim l'rabinei to pata for money. Turn to Bechizkiya. Maka adam maka behema. The pasuk says, "Maka behema yishalmenu, maka adam yumas." Ma maka behema lechlakdo ben shoygel mezid bemiskaven shein miskaven bederech yirida lederech aliyah. Just like if someone kills an animal, it doesn't make a difference how he killed him, whether it was on purpose, whether he was miskaven, whether it was derech yirida or derech aliyah, because there's the pasuk said we know there's an afkamina lagabi being sent into golus. Whether the person who's hitting is hitting in a downward motion or an upward motion, all of that is not relevant when someone kills an animal, because we know the din is adam muad la'olam. If a person damages something, he's responsible for anything that he does. And that's talking about mammon. Obviously, a person doesn't get killed for killing an animal. L'poicher mammon el l'chayve mammon, just saying that you're not. It's not saying that you're going to be potter, but you're always going to be chayiv when you kill an animal. Af make adam, since the Torah compared make behema to make adam, so when a person kills a person, letachlika ben shoygel mezid ben miskam l'shein miskam b'derech yirida l'derech aliyah, whatever kind of shoygig, whatever kind of unintentional killing it is, l'chayve mammon el l'poicher mammon. It's going to tell you the other way around. It's going to say it's going to be consistent that it's always going to be potter. Meaning that we will say kimlei b'derabminei, even though it was a shaygig, not like Rebbe, who said that we don't say kimlei b'derabminei with a shaygig. My she'ein miskaven. What does it mean? It's ein miskaven. Ilem she'ein miskaven klal. If we said two things. We said ben shaygig l'she'ein miskaven. So the Gemara says, what does it mean she'ein miskaven? Ilem she'ein miskaven klal. He didn't intend to kill anyone. Hainu shaygig. That's a shaygig. We're talking about where he was miskaven to kill one person and he killed a different person. It was saying he's potter for a mammon. If you would say that this person gets killed, why do we need a pasuk to tell you that ein miskaven is potter for mammon? That everyone agrees. There's no machlokes that if someone kills someone, we definitely say kimlei b'derabminei. The only question is in a case where the person who killed did so with b'shaygig, so he's not going to get killed. That's what Rebbe said, that you're still going to be mechuyev. You're going to still have to pay. We don't say kimlei b'derabminei. So if we're saying over here that ein miskaven is going to be potter from paying mammon, it must be that he's not getting killed. El lav shmamina, la barkatalahu. He's not a barkatala, so in that way he's not like he doesn't get killed. So he's not like the Rabban. He's like Rav Shimon, v'loy bar b'maynehu. But he's also not going to pay, which is not like the Rabban. That's not like Rav Shimon, because Rav Shimon says, even though he says that you don't get killed, he says you do have to pay mammon, But Chizki is going to be not like that. Zok the Mishnah. So the first din of this Mishnah is going to be very objectionable until the Gemara explains it. A Ritzeach, someone who killed, and he got mixed up with a bunch of other people. Kulam Purim. The Tanna Kama says, you don't have a choice. You don't know who the murderer is, so you have to let them all go. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Koinzinoisan Lekipa. Yehuda says, you lock them up in a jail, and they have a whole mahalach of what they do. Sakrashi, the Koinzinoisan Lekipa, V'sham Achilonasam Sha'orin, they feed them barley, Achnis Bakeya Kresan, until their stomachs explode. Like we're going to say a little bit later on. It doesn't mean that you lock them up until you find out who it is. It means you lock them up and then you make sure they die in jail. The Chacham, they make sure they feed them a diet that's sure to kill them. It's not a Mises Bezdin, but it's like a self-help. Now, obviously, this sounds extremely strange. How can you kill the innocent people together with the one murderer? So the Gemara is going to explain that shortly. Zok the Mishnah. What happens if you have a bunch of convicts and they're all mechuyev misa for different reasons, and they're all supposed to get different einshin? One's supposed to get hereg, one's supposed to get sreifa. So nidanim b'kala, all of them get the lightest misa. You give all of them from the four types of misas bezdin, you give them the most, the least stringent, the least painful. So Haniskal and Benisraf, and if you mix together, those are supposed to get skila with those that are supposed to get sreifa. Rav Shimon Aimer nidanim b'skila, shas sreifa chamura. Rav Shimon holds sreifa is the most chamur. Shimon holds the order is sreifa, skila, chanek, kereg. So therefore you give him skila because skila is more kal. You give both of them skila. The Chacham disagree. They say skila sreifa hereg chanek. So therefore they say you give sreifa because that's more kulidik. Amal and Rav Shimon, Rav Shimon says that he holds that the din of a bas kayin that gets sreifa is going on a naira hameirasa who's a bas kayin. So we say instead of getting skila, which a normal naira hameirasa gets, a bas kayin gets sreifa. So that's a raya. If a bas kayin is getting something special, it must be that sreifa is muchamer. The Chachamim disagree, as we saw probably about 3 weeks ago. That the Chachamim say that the din of bas kayin is not going on a naira hameirasa, it's going on a nesua. A nesua, instead of getting chenek, gets sreifa. But ein chanami, they hold skila is muchamer. And the Chachamim say, the Chachamim disagree. They say, no, obviously skila is muchamer because that's what a person who's megadef, who's mevarach Hashem, and to an someone who's oived avodah zara, those are obviously the most chamadik averis a person could do. And if that's what they're getting skila, it must be that skila is the most chamadik. It's the worst punishment, the worst type of execution. Hanerog and benechnach. And if you have a mixture of people who are supposed to get hereg, which is sayif, and those who get chanek, Shimon Omer b'sayif. Shimon says chanek is chamor, so therefore you give them sayif. V'chamayim b'chanek, they hold hereg is more chamor than chanek. Now back to the first thing that we said in the Mishnah. Ma'anacher. We said if a convicted murderer, a murderer gets mixed up with other people, we said the machlekes, the Tanna Kama says they all go free, and Rabbi Yehuda says you lock them in the jail and you make sure they die. So who is these other people that they got mixed up with? If it's talking about people who are, innocent citizens, pshita. How could the Tanna Kama? What does the Tanna Kama have to tell us that they're potter? Obviously, you can't kill an innocent person. V'su b'hal leimer Yehuda kaintenes on the kippah. Also, if we're talking about an innocent person, would Yehuda say that you lock them up and you cause them to die? So Gemara is going to say a few possible explanations. Amar Bavo, Amar Shmuel. We're talking over here by a Ritzeach that he did not get a final. He did not get his final Gemar Din. Means they had the whole Bezdin had the whole court case, and they decided already that they're going to kill him, but they didn't make the verdict, and they got mixed up. And he was he was mixed up with other people who did have a Gemar Din. So Adarabba, the other people were worse than him. Not that they were innocent citizens. He was a murderer who's just missing the final announcement of the verdict, and they already had their verdict announced. So Rabbanan Savi aim Goyim Din Shal Adam. So the Rabbanan hold you can't do a Gemar Din for someone Ela B'fanav unless he's there. And since this guy is mixed up with a bunch of people, that's not considered to be B'fanav. If you hold them in for the Mefarshim say it's not considered to be a real Gemar Din if you just take someone who you don't even know who he is and you say you're getting Misa. So Helkach, Kula, Peturin, they all go off the hook. Rabbi Yehuda, Mifterinu, the Gamri Namiloi, keeping the rights. Yehuda says you can't let them go because they're all murderers. The others are fully convicted, and he's just missing the final seal of approval. Helcha kindness and keep it. Therefore, you lock them all up and you make sure they all die. So that's the first pshat.
So if they had the whole process and they just didn't do a Gemar Din, so why not bring him back for Gemar Din?
So that's the problem. We said that you can't make a Gemar Din unless the person is there. And the Mefarshim say if you don't know who the person is, that's not considered to be a Gemar Din. The guy is not considered to be that you're giving him a Gemar Din if we don't. He's mixed up. We don't know who's who. It's a pile of people. We don't know who's who.
Wait a minute, how could it be? You have Adam who testified that this person killed.
Adam are gone. They died. I mean, it's a hard case altogether to understand how you could have people mixed up.
Yes, right? That's right. So that part is very hard.
Yeah, it's very. I guess I don't know. Like I said, it could be. It's a bunch of strangers, a bunch of strangers that came to a town, and there were all a bunch of murderers, and let's say it was a gang, right? A gang of 4 people, and there were 2 witnesses who saw them kill people. It could just be 2 people, even, right? 2 people. They saw 2 people go and kill another 2 people, and they had 2 witnesses who saw it, and they said it was this guy and this guy. And we gave them Asra, and we told them their names, and then they did the Gemar Din for one of them, and then the Adam disappeared or they died. So you have no way of knowing who's really who. Nobody remembers who's who. Okay. So that's the first teres. Shlaka says this whole thing is nuts. If you have someone mixed up, you're certainly going to be potter. Over here, we're talking about, the Mishnah is not talking about humans. It's talking about a shar, even though it says Reitzeach Shenesarav. Normally, a Reitzeach doesn't mean an animal, it means a person. But that's the way that's the way Rish Lakish is going to understand it. It's talking about a shar. And a shar also, if a shar kills someone, it gets killed, but it didn't have a Gemar Din. Like we said before, strangely enough, that if a shar kills someone, you have to have a full-fledged bezdin to do nidin nefashos on him. If he didn't have a Gemar Din, and it was mixed with other animals that did have a Gemar Din that they also killed. We learn from the Bailam, just like the Bailam, you have to have a Gemar Din. Therefore, you can't have a Gemar Din for the shar unless he's there. Helkach kulam p'turin. Therefore, all the animals don't get killed with a misa. Yehuda savar kindness on the keeper. Yehuda says no. Therefore that you're gonna make sure that they all die, because in any case they're going to be usherly they're going to be usher bahano, misafik, right? This is just an animal, so misafik you can say mammon is going to be usher, but he says you can't leave them. You're not going to let them go free. Amar Rava, ihachi. If that's the case, if it's talking about either of these things, if it's talking about where there was a Ritzeach who was who did it, who was ein nigmadina, who mixed in with other Ritzchim, or if it was talking about a shar that was mixed up with other shvar. Now, how would we understand that which Rabbi Yossi said? Even if my father Chalifta was amongst them, the din would still be that they all go free. Now, if it's talking about a unconvicted murderer together with convicted murderers, if his father was mixed amongst them, he wouldn't be any different than he would also be a murderer. That's the case. So it can't be talking about, like he's trying to make a point that even if my father was a big tzaddik, it would still be the same din. But if he was a murderer, it wouldn't be relevant. And it certainly can't be talking about a shar, like Rish Lakish said. He says a different shot. Two people that were standing, and the arrow came from between them. And it killed. That means we don't know which of two people killed. Shneim Peturim. Both of them are going to be potter. And therefore, that's what it means. If we killed from one of them was a Ritzech, we don't know which one, then they're both potter. Even if my father was one of the two people, so we know that he's a big tzaddik and he certainly wasn't the one who killed. Even so, you can't kill the other one, even though you're certain that his father was a big tzaddik, didn't kill anyone, and the other person clearly was the one who shot the arrow. Unless you actually saw who shot it, you can't convict him and kill him. That's the first case of the Mishnah. Then the second part of the Mishnah, right? It says Then Rabbi Yehuda is talking about a different case. Then a second din, if there was a shar that had a gemar din, that got mixed up with other animals that didn't do anything wrong, you give them skila. Rabbi Yehuda says no, you don't give them skila, but rather you collect them and you wait for them you feed them barley till they explode. So that's a second din. It's a separate din. And Abba Chalifta wasn't, what he said, Rabbi Yossi said about Abba Chalifta wasn't referring to this separate machlokes between the Rabbanon and Rabbi Yehuda. And the first din of the Mishnah, it's actually Abba Cherem, was just saying something that was not argued on, that in that case everyone will agree that you're not going to be chayiv. But Tanya, and I'll show you that this was also said like this, a brisa that said like this, Parashe Hemisa, a para that killed, and after it killed, and it's a cow that killed, and afterwards it gave birth. If it gave birth before the Gemar Din, before it was Nigmadina that it has to get killed, Uvla. Im actually Nigmadina Yalda, Uvlada Mutter, Yalda Vlada Mutter. Then the Vlad is going to be Mutter. But if it gives birth after the Gemar Din, then the Vlad is going to be Asa. Because we're going to say that the Gemar Din applied to the fetus that was inside of the cow, the calf that was inside. So when there's a Gemar Din that says that it's chayav, so the Vlad is also going to have the Isser Hana that applied to the mother. So that's just one din. It's not really relevant to what we're talking about, but the Gemara is going to talk about it at that. But if it got mixed in with others and others with others, meaning this cow that killed someone got mixed up with others, you bring it into, you gather it together and you wait for it to die. So this is the same din that we had just said. that according to Rabbi Yehuda, we said if a shar that killed got mixed up with others, you put it in a kippah to wait for a daughter. They say you kill it like the chacham. Okay, so we'll leave over here, and tomorrow we're going to continue with going back to the first thing that we said, that a para that killed, it's going, whether it's vlad, whether it's child, it's calf, is going to, when under what circumstance its calf is going to get the same gemar din, it's going to have the same din as the mother. Okay, have a freilich and Purim.
Thank you so much.
I hope we'll see